What's up, guys? Max here. Happy Veterans Day. Today is going to be our Veterans Day special. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. You may notice the show looks a bit different today. We've been working on the set in here. And when I first started a live stream, I had to switch my cameras out to get one that was compatible with what we were doing with the live stream. But, turn my headphones up a little bit. But now I was able to go back to the original camera that we were shooting, so you might see it looks a little bit better in here or worse, in your opinion. I think that this looks better. Let me know what you think. I do have a shiny blue light up on the top of the ceiling there that is on battery. I hope it doesn't die over the course of this broadcast. Welcome back. Happy Sunday back in the United States. It is a beautiful Monday out here in Okinawa, Japan, and I'm coming to you live to talk about the weekends, and all the greatest military news that I've found out over the last few days. So it is our Veterans Day special. Veterans Day is not for another 2 days. Let me check. 2 days out here. It's on a Wednesday. But I thought I would go ahead and knock out our Veterans Day special now while I had the opportunity to get the video clips uploaded in time for Wednesday. So the Veterans Day is a special holiday for the ScuttleButt Show. Not just because we're a veteran program, but because, and I'm sure you guys may not, there's a good chance you guys don't remember this unless you've been real OG fans of the show, but the ScuttleButt Show's first ever time going live, recording anything, broadcasting, was on Veterans Day 2017. It was a Saturday in sunny San Diego, and we were broadcasting from the live on the on FM radio. So we were on 89.1 KNSJ Descanso. We used to have to say it like that on the show, advertise for the radio station. The ScuttleButt Show originally was a live FM radio, public radio broadcast out of San Diego, and it all started on Veterans Day 2017, where I appeared as a guest on somebody else's show. And they had me on to talk about what the ScuttleButt Show was going to be. And then the following week, we went live and did our first episode. And that's where we are born out of, was the live radio broadcast out of San Diego. And I want to just give a shout out to all those who've been with us ever since, including, check this out, this is our crew from the very first day. The very first episode. If you're looking at this here, we've got, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. We've got retired Master Chief Joe Lara of the Honor Foundation, and I'm repping the Honor Foundation shirt there if you see me on the bottom left. We've got Van. If you guys remember Van from the old broadcasts, he's not doing the show with us anymore, but he used to be our co-host. So Van is doing great out there. He's retired now from the Navy. We've got Mikey, producer Mikey, and my buddy Eric, who is sound engineer. And then this is Marine Elliot McKenzie. He is a Marine Corps veteran, served in Iraq, and he is a singer. He is an R&B singer. He's great. He's got a great quarantine song out. It's called Quarantine. So look him up at Elliot McKenzie. He's the man. He's an awesome singer. He's got another song called Gunshots, which is great. If you guys want to hear that song, let me know. I'll pull it up. And we can listen to it. And I'll do that on a future episode for sure. But if you want to hear it today, let's give a shout out to Elliot McKenzie and Joe Lara, our first ever guests. And because that was our first ever show, there were some technical issues, and it was up on the podcast for a long time, but the sound wasn't great. The sound was not where I like it to be for the quality of the show. So it's currently not up, but you guys can find it on some clips on the show, and then you can always go look up the Honor Foundation or Elliot McKenzie and check out what they've got going on there, and I strongly recommend that you do. I want to talk about another one of our favorite veterans we ever talked to on the show, which was this man right here. This man, so you got Van on the left, Mikey on the right, myself in the blue polo, and then this man right here, Stu Hedley. Stu Hedley, who I believe is passed, unfortunately, now. He was, I think, 102 when we recorded this episode. Pearl Harbor survivor. He was at Pearl Harbor, and then he went on to serve in nearly every major battle in the Pacific on board a ship. He joined us for breakfast at this diner in San Diego in Claremont Mesa that he likes, and we sat down and we had breakfast, and he told us stories about World War II and Pearl Harbor, which was quite the honor. So to Stu Hedley and his family, thank you for his service and joining us on the show. That was an incredible moment. And we've had so many incredible moments on this show. They've been really great. And Veterans Day is a great time to remember some of that stuff. I want to show you guys something else too. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, go over, check out the YouTube channel, and you can check out the full live broadcast. But I want to show you guys really quick the first ever promotional video that I made. I made this in a software called Blender on my computer, and I thought I was the man. I made this, and I'll show it to you guys now. This was what I put on Instagram before we went live on our first episode. So check this out. I didn't even put on the show. It was just the ScuttleButt. That was our first ever promo video. And I guess you could say I've come a long way in my skills in that software since then. I should probably do an update of that, and I should probably actually call it the ScuttleButt Show and not just the ScuttleButt. But we shot that out into the world and made that our first piece of marketing material, if you will. And so that was how we got this show started. So it all goes back to Veterans Day 2017, like I was saying. And I just want to take a second here before we get into today's stories that thank you to all of our guests. Thank you to all the veterans who support us. And I hope that we're doing a good job putting out good information for you guys and you find some value in this show. And hopefully you can get some value right now because we're going to play a video online about the history of Veterans Day. So let's go ahead and watch that real quick.
In the United States, November 11th is recognized as Veterans Day. What is Veterans Day? Why is it celebrated on November 11th? In the early morning hours of November 11th, 1918, the Allied powers, which included France, Great Britain, the United States, and many others, agreed with Germany to end the fighting during World War I. Later that day, an official armistice or ceasefire was signed. In fact, the armistice was signed in Paris at 11 a.m. on November 11th of 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. This date was almost instantly recognized as being an important one. The following year, in 1919, many nations declared November 11th a national holiday. The day became known as Armistice Day and honored those who had died during the war. Many nations still honor Armistice Day, and the focus of the holiday is placed on soldiers who have lost their lives, similar to the American holiday of Memorial Day. There are several different traditions associated with Armistice Day. For example, some nations still observe a moment of silence, usually for 2 minutes, at 11 o'clock in the morning. The first minute is said to honor the millions who died during World War I. The second minute is for the living who were also affected by the war, including wives, parents, and children. There are also significant ceremonies which take place in South Africa and Australia, as both nations were profoundly impacted by World War I. In South Africa, they observe the moment in darkness as well as silence. In Australia, instead of 11 o'clock a.m., they observe their moment of silence at 9 o'clock p.m. This is because at 9 o'clock p.m. in Australia, it is 11 o'clock a.m. in Paris. In other nations, the nature and focus of the holiday changed after the conclusion of World War II. At that point, Great Britain began referring to the day as Remembrance Day. In America, the holiday became Veterans Day. However, in the United States, Veterans Day has grown to recognize all of those who have served their country, whether living or dead, and even honors those still serving. A World War II veteran Raymond Weeks was the first to propose the notion of recognizing all veterans on this day. He approached Dwight Eisenhower with the idea, and it was eventually presented as a bill before Congress. Veterans Day was recognized as an official holiday on May 26, 1954. Today, Raymond Weeks is remembered by some as the father of Veterans Day. At first, Veterans Day continued to be celebrated on November 11th. However, in 1971, it was briefly moved to the fourth Monday in October. It remained on that day until 1978, when it was returned to the November 11th date. Today, Veterans Day is recognized across the United States and is observed on the 11th of November each year. Americans all over the country join with many others around the world to honor those who have served in the military.
All right, so that's a little background history on Veterans Day. I hope you guys maybe learned something there, or at least had a little refresher. I think it's interesting that Veterans Day is celebrated by different countries all around the world, and I think it's also interesting that it was kind of started after World War I, where they thought that would be the end of that would be the greatest war that the world had ever seen. Yet we know that is certainly not ended up being the case throughout history, because we had World War II, and then that changed the meaning of Veterans Day again. And so I guess you can just think it may never really be the end of war, but at least we have a strong and willing fighting force out there to go defend what we believe in here in the United States. So thanks for watching that with me. That was pretty cool. I had some cool. If you guys have any questions or any comments about Veterans Day, or maybe a Veterans Day story that you want to share, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I would love to hear it. So there's a couple stories. Speaking of Veterans Day, I think on this show we kind of advocate for veterans' rights and bringing awareness to some issues that may be going on that are not so great for those who have served or those who are serving now. And one of those is, and I feel like, I know I feel like and sound like a broken record here. I realize that, but I got to talk about Fort Hood. I got to talk about Fort Hood again, because they are making waves once again after a TikTok video. The real question on the ScuttleButt Show is, when am I going to start TikToking? And we're on the edge. We're on the edge of starting a TikTok. But I might make a YouTube video with an Instagram post about my first TikTok, so stand by for that. Now, what happened here is this guy who is an E7 in the Army, who kind of already has a TikTok that he does, and people watch. He's an E7, so he's a sergeant first class in the Army. His name is Corey Reedon, or Ryden, however you say it, and he is with the 1st Cav Division at Fort Hood, and he posted 2 TikTok videos about toxic leadership, and I've got those. I've got those videos right here.
In your first sergeant's office, when he's got the battalion sergeant major on speakerphone, but the battalion sergeant major doesn't know he's on speakerphone, and you're talking about another soldier, and the command sergeant major is like, yeah, we're going to have to get rid of him. We ain't got time to babysit soldiers. We're already babysitting sergeant first class Reedon. So then you proceed to say something, because you ain't no bitch. Ain't gonna let him run his mouth like that. First sergeant hangs up the phone. And sergeant major calls back. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. And first sergeant's like, hey, sergeant major, sergeant Reed's in here. I got you on speakerphone. And the battalion sergeant major goes, well, I don't give a damn. I go to behavioral health one time. And now I gotta be babysat. And we wonder why soldiers don't seek help.
And there's a part 2 here.
So I just want to thank everybody for their support for the video yesterday. There's more than one side to the story, obviously, and you guys aren't getting all of it. I'm not doing my job. I was moved to S3. There's no legal or UCMJ action or anything like that. I was moved because a deal was made to get rid of an NCO that was sticking up for soldiers, right? Issue with the sergeant major yesterday was the first interaction I ever had with the Sergeant Major, because he's only been around for about a month now, was as he told us, he goes, I'm all about the soldiers. And I was like, oh, okay, I hear you, Sergeant Major. So when he said, we got to babysit Sergeant Reading yesterday, that didn't trigger me. That upset me, but it didn't trigger me. What upset me was when he found out I heard it, he goes, well, I don't give a damn, right? Well, that means you don't give a damn. I'm going to tell you why. Because you got a warrant officer in your formation that told a soldier that he should kill himself last year, and he's still doing his job. But I become disrespectful to commissioned officer behind closed doors, and I get moved. So I just want to thank.
So this guy dropped this TikTok video. He's got 16,000 TikTok subscribers, and he drops this video about toxic leadership. His video is basically about toxic leadership in the Army, and then he goes on to talk about how he went to seek counseling with behavioral health, and he had faced some backlash from his command for it, according to him, which is exactly what they tell you will not happen if you go to seek behavioral health or go to seek counseling. They tell you to go get help. They tell you that they have an open door policy. I'm sure you guys have heard this stuff. And then when you go to actually do it, you face retaliation and backlash and kind of blackballed on your career. It goes on to say here that he had spoken about an incident where a sergeant major had told a soldier that he should kill himself in formation. Like, hey, why don't you, I imagine it was something like, well, then you should just go and kill yourself, something like that. Kind of a backhanded remark. And while it's not appropriate, I've heard, you've heard that stuff probably before around the shop. Not that it's a good thing, but it happens. And then he goes on to talk about how one of his troops had tested positive for COVID in the barracks, and that there was another troop, one of his soldiers, living in the room with him. And when they reported the positive test result and tried to get the other guy out so he could go have his own room, the barracks manager was too drunk to do his job, so they weren't able to get him moved out of the room. And then he called out his first sergeant for saying, hey, you're telling me to keep this a little secret between the two of us, that the barracks manager is too drunk to do his job, and so I have to leave my guy in here at risk of getting COVID. That's BS. And he got in a little bit of trouble for that. And apparently he's been removed from his command to another work center or something like that. But he says that's part of a deal that he had made. Anyway, I think this moral of the story here is the military has a trend of taking people who are struggling and then just pushing them out of the way. I've seen that before, and a lot of times, if I try to think about it from a few different perspectives, in one regard, it sucks because somebody is struggling with some personal stuff and they need help, and they're actively outwardly saying that they need help. And what do they get? They just go, okay, well, you know how we're going to help you is we're just going to get you out of here, and good luck. We're at your next, place that we're going to send you. And that is not ideal. That's not the best way to get help. That in a lot of cases creates additional stress in the sense of like purposelessness, self-esteem, honor, sense of duty, takes you away from your team and your teammates. So that's not great. But on the flip side, the mission's got to continue. You've got guys who are out there training for war. You've got guys out there who are on deployment. This stuff happens on deployment. So is there really the time, and is it really the place to address those types of issues when you're deployed, when you're training for deployment? Now, if you're back in garrison, as the Army calls it, or on shore duty, or on sit, or the time in between deployments where you're not really doing anything pro dev, all these terms that you might have heard for that type of thing, then maybe that's exactly the time where we should be addressing these issues very thoughtfully and taking care of people. I don't know. It just seems like all too often you take someone who is at the edge, you take your best people, you work them till their breaking point, and then when they break, you go, well, we don't really have time for that. Just beat it, go take a knee somewhere else, figure it out. And maybe we don't realize the effect that has on people too. Like, yeah, go take 2 weeks off, go, drink, go whatever, do some, take some leave and do some relaxation time. But is that really treating the problem or treating the symptoms? So it's something to think about. If you guys have any experiences with that or any ideas on how to make that process better, or if you know Sergeant First Class Whedon or have any thoughts on him going to TikTok with this stuff, let me know. I guess what they're saying is because he made these TikTok videos and they went viral, now the Army has had to make some official statements on what's been going on. I'll try to find some more information out about that and maybe talk about it on the next episode. But it's one more instance of what we've been talking about in the show about veterans going to social media with their problems. And is that the right thing to do? Or is that maybe not the best approach for this kind of stuff? So I thought that was an interesting story. I'm glad we were able to get it out there. It kind of popped over the weekend. I saw this pop up on Task and Purpose as soldier goes viral for TikTok calling out leadership. So, and in the video you can see him. He's clearly stressed. He's smoking. His hands look like they're shaking. He's got like a tremble in his voice. Probably some of that is nerves about going public with this kind of stuff, and some of it might be just general anxiety stuff and being upset. So that's that story. I just realized I didn't put my 7 minutes up. I wonder how long we just did that one for. I wonder how long we just put that 7 minutes up. So in light of Veterans Day, I found another cool article. As always, hey guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And if you want, head over to ScuttleButtShow.com and check out our website where you can find all the cool merch, t-shirts, coffee cups, all the good stuff over there. Moving on, our next story is, so it's Veterans Day, and we know that we've got sailors serving on ships. We've got soldiers serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, Marines serving on ships and on the ground. We've got the Air Force flying in the sky. The Air Force flies high. But did you know that there were some other kind of more unique units out there? And I've got two examples over here. So let me pull up, I lost my mouse. Let me pull up my 7 minutes, and let me pull up my internet here. And let me tell you about two really unique and interesting military units that you might not know exist. So shout out to the Navy, the sailors who are manning the forest. So if you didn't know, there's a giant base in Indiana where the Navy harvests and farms white oak trees. And why do they do that? Because the USS Constitution, which is a museum, requires white oak for repair. So the Navy has a whole base in Indiana dedicated to taking, I don't know what the right word is, forestation of white oak trees so that they can use the white oak to maintain the USS Constitution, which I thought was kind of interesting. In all my time in the Navy, I never heard of that. I know that there's units out there in the Navy that I don't know a lot about. Like, to be totally honest, I don't know that much about Riverine squadrons. I don't know that much about dolphin trainers, and I don't know that much about white oak trees. So the Navy is out there in Indiana harvesting white oak trees for use on the USS Constitution, which was launched in 1797. It's the oldest ship in the fleet, and is famously known as Old Ironsides, and it's a museum and has a crew. So if you go out and check out the ship in Boston, there's a full crew dressed in old school uniforms who are ready and willing to take you on a cool tour and show you the ship, which I think is really neat. So the Navy has that, and then the Army, which is interesting because we were just talking about the 1st Cav. Sergeant Whedon was part of the 1st Cav, and here's the U.S. Army's 1st Cavalry Division out of Fort Hood, maintains horses. So they still have horses. And as you guys might know, horses were used by the Army a long time ago. They were used by the Coast Guard to travel the coast, and they served a purpose back before we had better modes of transportation. And that's why you have the cavalry in the Army. And they wear, old school uniforms at the horse division as well. But if you've ever seen the movie 12 Strong or have heard about the horse soldiers in Afghanistan, the first Green Berets on the ground in Afghanistan, which that movie, awesome movie, 12 Strong with Chris Hemsworth as the captain, focuses a lot on what they were doing out there working with the local anti-Taliban militias in Afghanistan. And the way that they got around was on horses. So post 9/11, these guys landed in Afghanistan, November 2001. They're going through the mountains. They've got no material. They just are there all of a sudden. They got no support. There's very few of them out there. and they embed with a group of Afghanis, and the way that they got around was on horses. So the Army still maintains a horse unit out of Fort Hood, and you can go there and check out the horses, and they still train on riding horses. So there is still a purpose for horses in the Army, and there's still troops out there. There's still troops out there maintaining horses. Here's my question for you guys. If there was one military working animal that you had to work with, what would it be? I'm pretty sure the military has birds, sea life, aquatic. We've got horses. We've got dogs. If you had to pick, and there's probably all kinds of stuff. I bet we have cats. I'm sure that there's everything. So if there was one type of military working animal that you had to work with, what would it be? Let me know. Let me know. I'm curious what it would be. I thought that was a fun story. I've gotten to work with military working dogs. You know, you travel around with them. You get to go see them in action. We've done some stories on some bite dogs before. I've worked with bomb dogs. The dogs are amazing. Like I said, I've never worked with horses. I've never worked with dolphins or any other sea life, and I've never worked with any type of birds or whatever. But the military has got all kinds of cool stuff. I think it's pretty neat that the Navy's out there maintaining a forest. That's got to be such a sweet gig. You're just out there probably walking around, managing some civilians. You probably cut down the trees, get them set up and get them like trucked over to Boston, I assume. I bet it's a pretty sweet deal. Maybe if you or someone you know has worked at the tree facility in Indiana, let me know. I bet it's all people who are about to retire. I bet it's senior people. I found another cool story just in time for Veterans Day. Let me pull up my 7 minutes on the clock. This was a fun one. This was a fun story in time for Veterans Day. And I thought it might be good to share this because I thought somebody out there might get something out of this. If you live in this area, you might want to know about this program. So let me throw 7 minutes on the clock. Let me pull up the internet here. And let me tell you about this U.S. Navy veteran and his family who are getting a brand new mortgage-free home. Let's play the video real quick.
When we meet with a family who's dealing with the consequences of a truck wreck, we think about our neighbors.
We've got an ad. Okay, sorry guys. Let me get through the ad here. It's done in 8 seconds. Rookie host move. But we'll get through the ad, and I want to show you guys this video about this family.
And a special dedication ceremony this morning at Escondido Ranch. U.S. Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class Russell Snodgrass and his family received the keys to their new mortgage-free home.
This is cool.
Snodgrass was part of the initial invasion of Iraq in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was honorably discharged from the Navy in 2005 after a traumatic brain injury. For his service, Snodgrass received many awards, but today he and his wife were speechless but thankful for their new home.
Beautiful home.
Neither one of us are usually speechless, and
No,
here we are again.
I'm a talker, but I'm like, wow. Wow, it's
Blessed, that's a big one. Grateful for
very grateful.
the fact that we're even here.
Proud to live in
Yeah.
Lubbock. Proud to live in Lubbock. Proud of this community. And proud of all the
Work that's gone into this house.
there's been
This
a ton.
beautiful house.
Like
West Texas Hero Homes, HEB Operation Appreciation, Operation Finally Home, and members of the West Texas Home Builders Association all partnered to build the home for the Snodgrass family.
So the Snodgrass family, as I read this article, I was like going through here. So Petty Officer 3rd Class Russell Snodgrass and his family received the keys to their new mortgage-free home in Lubbock, Texas. He says, I don't think there are quite the words. I'm a little overwhelmed. It's unbelievable, and it's beautiful. So good for him. And I'm reading this, and the program is the West Texas Hero Homes, the HEB Operation Appreciation, Operation Finally Home, and members of the West Texas Home Builders Association. So all these people came together to help get this guy and his family a home, which what's a greater gift than a home for your family? If you don't have somewhere to live, if you're struggling to pay rent, I think we've probably all been there. To give somebody a home, somewhere that they know that their family can feel safe in and be confident that they're going to be able to stay in for a long time is such an incredible gift. So good for these programs out here that are offering assistance to veteran families. And they kind of fooled them because they told them that they were in the preliminary stages of the process for applying for this program, but they had actually already been approved and the home was going to be built for them. So they got the keys. They're living in their brand new home, which is incredible. But now, here's what's interesting. So this guy, Russell Snodgrass, joined the Navy in April 2000, and he was in for 6 years. And it says he was an active duty member of the Navy. He got married to his high school sweetheart. And after September 11th, he injured in training. So after September 11th, in training, he injured his back while fast roping out of a helicopter in Korea. Okay, fast roping out of a helicopter in Korea. He pressed through the injury. His unit deployed for the initial invasion of Iraq. And in April, which was in March 2003, and in April 2003, an amphibious assault vehicle was hit by enemy fire. The force of the explosion knocked Snodgrass unconscious, which resulted in further injury to his back, as well as a traumatic brain injury, and now is compounded by repetitive exposure to explosions throughout the deployment. Those injuries, combined with PTSD, forced him to be honorably discharged in October 2005, and I don't know if that means medically retired or what. His awards include the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, National Defense Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, Combat Action Ribbon, Good Conduct, and Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary. One thing about the Navy, if you guys don't know this, it's actually really hard to get a Combat Action Ribbon. The requirements are pretty strict, and the approval process is pretty strict as well. Now, I was wondering what he did in the Navy. So I didn't see... I didn't see what he. It doesn't say what he did in the Navy, but it does say that his injuries have been getting worse. He became partially paralyzed from spine injuries, and he faces the possibility of becoming permanently paralyzed. And they've been trying to navigate the civilian world ever since the end of his career. But this is a huge step up. So again, the programs are the West Texas Hero Homes, HEB. Operation Finally Home. So I was wondering what he did in the Navy. I'm curious, what do you guys think this guy did in the Navy? Do you think that he was a SEAL? Do you think he was a SWIC? Do you think he was a Riverine guy? Do you think, and here's what I think, that he was a corpsman? I think he was probably a corpsman deployed out there with the Marines. So probably a corpsman deployed out there with the Marines, but Russell Snodgrass got his family into a home thanks to the great organizations out there in Texas who are taking care of veterans. So happy Veterans Day to Russell Snodgrass and his family, and I hope they find a lot of comfort in their new home. So good for them. Let me turn off that story. Let me take the 7 minutes off the clock. We came in just under 7 minutes there, which is pretty cool. It's interesting how the different branches offer different programs. No branch is even close. No branch is even close. Let me put 7 minutes on the clock. No other branch is even close in luxury programs than the Air Force. And we already know this. We already know this, right? So the Air Force is launching this week the FAN exam. Test your college sports knowledge. So the Air Force launches FAN exam trivia. So you can gear up to play the FAN exam presented by Unilever, a live trivia game hosted by Mike Golick, if you guys know who that is. I don't. All about college sports. I know so many people out there love college sports. It's a 6-week live game show, free to play, 6 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday, from November 10th to December 17th, with a special exception during Thanksgiving. I thought some people might want to know about this, but it's just a fact of life that people in the military love sports. People in the military love college sports. I have seen some really fanatical college sports fans out there. So the U.S. Air, this is really quick. This is going to be like a 2-minute thing. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I saw this, and I thought it might be interesting to some people, that the Air Force launches FAN exam trivia, and you can go see if you are the greatest college sports fan in the Air Force by logging in, checking that out. So you can go check out more information on that. You can Google it yourself. I'm not going to provide any more free advertising for that program, but there you go if you're interested. So in honor of Veterans Day, hang on, we got, what did Joe say? Army, Marine, SEALs all do stuff to keep you angry. Wouldn't be a good soldier if you were happy. Yep, that's right. That's right. If you ain't complaining, What do they say? A happy sailor is a complaining sailor, bitching sailor. So if you're not complaining, you're not happy. That's true. So the Navy posted a video today, and I thought it might be cool to check out. It is a virtual tour of a fast attack submarine. So I thought what I might do is do a little reaction to life on board a fast attack submarine, which I haven't done one of these in a while. Let me pull up the internet here. I'll go ahead and play this video, and you guys let me know what you think. Have you ever been on a submarine? Have you ever been up close to a submarine? I've never been on board a submarine, and I don't want to. I don't mind that I haven't. So let's check out this video and see what this is all about. The USS New Mexico. Oh, man. I don't. So when you go on and off a ship, you have to salute the flag. Salute the ensign.
We're taking on a tour of the USS New Mexico. Originally from Texas, but I have a lot of family in Reynosa, New Mexico, as well as Albuquerque. We're ready to show you around, show you what life's like on the boat. Follow me.
Salute the ensign. I forgot about that.
So right now we're topside forward of the boat. This is our VLS. This is one of our defense systems that we have on the boat. We will fire some tomahawks from here if we need to. Hopefully one day we don't have to.
Look at this guy. We'll fire those tomahawks if we need to. Don't test us. Oh, man. Look at those narrow ladder wells they have to go through. Oh, man. I'm 6'2".
So
I would not do well on this thing.
We're standing in a lockout truck. We do diver operations in here. So let's say we're underwater at a certain feet, a certain depth. We will put the divers in here, flood it with water. That's where they escape. It's also emergency access for sometimes on the boat, and sometimes when it's heavy weather outside, we can't stand outside or have that.
Wow, the divers have to go through there with all their gear on. That looks like a really tight fit. How do they fit?
To go after that. But this is where we're at right now. Pretty close, pretty tight.
The dive loadout's pretty big.
What can I say? It's a submarine. So thank you for following me. We're inside the boat. We're not right now. We're in upper level. There are 3 levels to the boat.
I am not.
Upper, middle, lower.
I am not envious of
a lot of people ask where we sleep and how do we
submarine
sleep?
crews
So
at all.
really quick. Go ahead and follow
That
me.
is really not for me. Look at this. Wow.
So the berthing mount we're in right now is called Skinny Man. The reason why it's called Skinny Man because you can only traverse and transfer through the berthing.
Oh my gosh.
Turn straight. You can't really fit in here.
Well, I guess you got to stay in shape
Not
on there.
for us big folks, as some would say.
Guess you can't let your weight get out of control if you want to live on the sub.
So when the casualty response on the boat, there's a fire or a toxic gas, we had to get on emergency breathing. So this right here, the EAB. EAB is comprised of certain gas masks.
People love the subs.
People
go on the subs and they love it. I bet they need to put that on whenever somebody lets one rip. As small as that space is right there. And they're eating that submarine food. I bet that's no joke. Toxic gas alert on a regular basis.
It helps us breathe in the certain casualties where we can't breathe the certain air around us or there's a fire that's giving us too much carbon monoxide. Sometimes when we do a lot of drills, you see some of the guys put this on, living their Star Wars fantasy of being their favorite very own Darth Vader. And you can see why we do that.
I wonder how this guy got picked. How do you think they picked this guy to be the representative? Oh, here, they're switching it out.
Tyler tomorrow. This is fire control over here. This is my space. From here, we work with the sonar team across from us. We work with off the deck contact manager to manage all the contacts out while we're submerged in the ocean and surface. So the missiles you guys saw topside, we enter the solution for those, and all the torpedoes that we have on board in the torpedo room, we develop solutions for those too.
At least they give it. At least they give him some simple shapes. The star doesn't fit in the T, and the T doesn't fit in the circle.
They monitor and control all of the ship's systems, as well as changing the depth when we're traversing the ocean using a joystick, just as similar as a plane would.
What?
They use this. They could change it for going left to the right, up, down. That's how we are.
I did not know they drive the sub with a joystick.
This is where Basically, the magic happens when you're going in the submarine.
Now the question
Where you
is,
control everything.
you said it's like a plane, so it's inverted controls. How do you guys do that? Do you guys do inverted controls or normal controls when you're playing your games?
But right now, we're standing next to the Diesel, which is the heart and soul of a submarine. So let me go ahead and follow me. I'll tell you Petty Officer Oliver.
Morning, I'm MMA1 Oliver.
Oh my gosh.
And this is the machinery room. Here we create emergency electrical power.
Poor
using a
MM1 Oliver.
diesel engine. It's just like kind of the diesel engine that you'd see in a semi-truck going down the road, except for it's attached to an electrical generator. So this
He's a
charges
little
up
less
the
comfortable on
batteries
camera, I'll tell you
so
that.
If we lose electrical power, we have a way to recharge. Down here, we also have an oxygen generator.
Talking a
where we
little
split
fast.
Water, and we make oxygen and hydrogen. So the oxygen we can breathe. And we also do other atmosphere control equipment, like getting rid of carbon dioxide, getting rid of carbon monoxide, making sure the air is safe to breathe, so that we can stay underwater for long periods of time.
That must be a pretty important job, making sure that the oxygen is good, that the air is not poison.
Good morning.
Chief's
I'm
quarters.
Ross McClellan, the chief of the boat here on board the USS New Mexico. You're inside the chief's quarters. This is where all the chief petty officers.
The sign right on the door said uncover.
Leaders on board the boat, and just ensure the entire crew stays safe.
Here goes this
They're
guy.
going home back to their families. Hope everybody's enjoying their time out in New Mexico.
Do they
I
wear
got to
covers
see
on the
guys,
sub?
In some of your schools a couple years ago. Really enjoyed the time, and I hope all your science projects are continuing to excel like the ones that I saw when I was there.
The goat. The goat locker. That's where the Chiefs go.
All right, so now we're going to walk into the torpedo room after we're showing you machinery room and chief's quarters.
So this is the
gonna be
torpedo
rest of the
room?
level you're about to get to see. Torpedo room comprised of all the armaments, torpedoes, and as well as where all the torpedo men sleep. You know, show you around,
What?
show you TNT,
They
show
sleep
you
in
what
their
he does,
work center?
and so hopefully you like it. Go on down.
Never get a break on a sub. There is no, like, at least on an aircraft carrier or something like that, you've got big barracks, you've got big gyms, a giant galley, MWR rooms.
On my right-hand side is a Mark 48 torpedo. This is what we use to defend the ship if necessary. As you know, we also have berthing down here right now. That's what all these racks are for, these curtains. So, if you don't know,
Is that guy
this
sleeping
torpedo
underneath a
actually
torpedo?
isn't that bad. You have more space than other places on the boat. And then
More,
if we
what?
continue up forward, we actually have a torpedo tube open.
What?
So you can actually see the inside of it.
Directly, they sleep directly under that. Wow. That is insane. Oh, here we go. Here's the food. Here's the food.
Greetings, I am CS1 Myers with the USS New Mexico. I am the leading CS. Here in my cruise mess, we serve food.
I wonder how the
We
food
also
is.
Congregate, play games. And if you would look to my left, you will see that we have a number of pictures from our namesake, just to give us a reminder of why we come out here and do this.
Better have pictures of the land because you're not going to be seeing it for a while. These guys can go underwater for 30 days, 60 days, never see
So right
sunlight,
now we're in the
never
captain's
see
stateroom,
land.
the biggest room when it comes to berthing that someone lives in.
How do you even know if
He's
it's
the
day
one
or
that's the
night?
Captain. Calls all the big shots, makes all the big plays. He's the one that controls everything going around the boat. But right here, I want to show you something specifically. Right here is an insignia submitted back in 2009 from a little girl in New Mexico. The reason why she submitted it is because before the boat became commissioned and officially the USS New Mexico, the Navy put out a competition to the state requiring students to submit a drawing resembling the state as well as the boat. This is the one I submitted, and this is the one that got voted highly recommended by Navy, civilians, as well as the
So this drawing is
So
of
with that being said, this is the boat, and this is the insignia
some
that we
koi
carry on
fish.
throughout
It's
its
the
history
patch is like
until
for the
the
people
ship is
listening
no
on the
longer with us.
podcast. They got the sub, some koi fish. It's in the shape of a patch, and it's become the ship insignia. So that's cool. A little girl
All right,
from New
guys, that's it
Mexico.
for the tour. Thank you for coming along. Hope you enjoyed it. In spirit of New Mexico, defendemos nuestra tierra, which translates to we defend our land. Take care. Thank you.
All right. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I've like I said, I've never been on a sub, and I don't really want to. Let's see. Let's catch up with some of these comments over here. We got a ton of comments on that one. So Joe, one of my favorite current books is Red Platoon. Good. I'm glad you are reading Red Platoon. That is awesome. Keep reading it. It's a great story. And you're scared of water. You'd rather get shot at. I don't know if I'm not scared of water, but having done 2 ship deployments and 3 boots on ground deployments, I would rather do a boots on ground deployment all day. There's no question about it. It's a much better life, much better deal. Let's see. So let's go down to, we got all these comments I got to catch up with. So you knew a guy who worked on subs, huge guy, probably 6 feet plus. Yeah, that's got to be tough. And you're 5'9", so I think that's probably also too tall. I think anything over 5'5" is probably too tall to be on a sub. On a sub. Speaker says, I could not last with how compact it is. Did you see that? Did you see how narrow those corridors were? Normal ships are still tight. It's still a tight space, but an aircraft carrier is like, you might as well be living on the Great Plains compared to living on that submarine. So no water, no tight spaces for Joe. His favorite sub, his roast beef with mustard and horseradish. I feel you on that. And the only sub I'm interested in is a sandwich. My gas is so bad I got to go outside or to the bathroom. Otherwise, the wife will strike me until I'm outside. So it would definitely be a real problem on the sub, I guess. And I've heard it's also kind of warm. I've heard it's also kind of warm on the sub. Like the air conditioning is not so great. So you also have like some kind of stagnant air, which has got to suck. And then we were talking about the controller. If you're inverted or normal, speak as normal. And something with the Xbox, regular, no inverted. So I'm inverted. I don't know how people can do normal. If I'm playing Halo, I got to put that on inverted. And that's like the age-old debate, regular versus inverted. I don't know. I'm inverted. I can't even my mind can't even comprehend normal. So we can get our nerd on a little bit about that. Joe says, the only thing I do well is be left the hell alone. I'm not a people person. Forget it then. Forget it on the sub. Because here's the deal with the subs. Not only is there nowhere to go and it's so small, but also you have very little time off because there's not that many people. So you're constantly working. You're constantly interacting with the other people to make the sub accomplish the job. So forget it then. It's a very special type of person who can thrive on a submarine. I'll say that. What's your opinion on the Chinese XF-17 missile? It apparently is able to pass any defense and can take out an aircraft carrier. Let me look up the Chinese XF-17 missile and prepare some thoughts on it, and I'll take that up on the next episode. That's a good question, and I will make note of it, and I'll do some research, and I'll get back to you on the next episode. Bong hit, do you wear covers on a submarine or just in certain rooms, bro? Yeah, that's a great question. Imagine if you could eat an edible and then go tour a ship and what that would be like. Joe says, as they eat more food, there's more room. Yeah. As they eat more food, there's more room. So the rations are fresh at the beginning, not so much until they resupply in port, but they'll go under for months. So imagine you're down there for months, what you're eating at the end. I bet they have a stockpile of MREs also in case the cooking systems go down. Because they would have the rations that they're ready to cook. Then they would have, I'm sure, MREs, probably regular MREs, cold weather MREs, all that. So I'm sure that they have redundant. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I'm sure that they have redundant systems as far as what their food is. Hot bunking. Oh yeah, have you heard of hot racking? So no biggie. Keep on keeping on, buddy. So if you guys don't know what hot racking is. Hot racking, they say that they do that on the subs. I need to ask somebody if that's really true. But hot racking on the subs is when you have 2 12-hour shifts and 2 people share one bed. So when one person gets up for their shift, the other person goes and gets in bed. If that's true and that's common, I mean, I'm sure it happens, but if that's true and that's common and that's the plan A, that's how they do it, and there's no backup plan to that, then that sucks. I'm surprised people don't get more skin infections and mold on their skin. When we were on the carrier, we had a guy who had mold growing on his face because he wouldn't take a shower. And there's on another episode, I'll give you guys the sea stories on what happens when somebody refuses to take a shower on the ship. But it was very gross. So Joe says they're eating beans. Oh yeah, for sure. Beans are always good, I guess. But then they're ripping them, and then you need your gas mask. Jarhead says, I spent some time on a ship, did not like it, bro. So I'm guessing you're a Marine, right? So I'm guessing you were probably on an amphib ship like the Peleliu or something. So Marines have their own reputation on the ship because the problem is if you're a Marine and you're like a grunt, let's say, on a ship, they kind of don't have a lot for you to do. So they make you do a bunch of BS. And then you're out there like running around, eating, working out, doing BS work. So I could see how that would be tough. But let me know, what did you do on the ship? Joe says, Skipper, I don't feel so good. In the Thanos meme, grab stomach. MREs were the worst. Well, MREs, we did an episode on moldy food on the aircraft carrier, and I've had MREs that were a lot better than some of the food I've had in the aircraft carrier. And then other days, the food was great. Like, and it can change drastically. So we had a friend who was working in the Chiefs mess. So the E7, E89 Chiefs mess on the carrier, famously known as having the best food. She would sneak down food when she was done working, and it was awesome. And once I had lunch with the skipper, the commanding officer, for an award that I won, and there was 12 of us who got to go have lunch with the skipper, and you order off of a menu. You order off, it's like going to a restaurant, you order off of a menu, they wait on you, they bring you food, they pour you drinks, like not alcohol, but they pour you Sprite or whatever. And it was just a crazy experience, very different from what we were used to. So Jared says, USS Kearsarge, 3 months, USS Gunston Hall, 3 months, did nothing. Yeah, that's the problem for Marines on a ship, right? You don't do anything, and then it sucks, and you feel cooped up, and you don't feel like you're doing a lot day to day, and kind of Groundhog's Day. So I feel you on that. Joe says, some guy in basic let one go, talking about farts, that could have been an infant. Funniest poop story in the military. There's a lot of them. Yeah, like for example, on the ship, let's see, I got 2 more stories to get to, but on the ship, we always had what we called the phantom pooper. Somebody would walk around pooping in like the shower stalls, poop in the angle irons, or like the basically the ledges that ran along the P-ways, the passageways inside the ship. I don't know, poop's always funny, right? So it's always a good time to talk about poop, and that is definitely one of those times. Let me move on to the next story really quick. Let me throw the 7 minutes on the clock, and let me pull up my internet here. And really quick, I saw this story, and I was just like, how does this happen? You know? U.S. Army soldier dies in rifle training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. It doesn't say much about what happened, but it says a soldier who was 18 years old from California was in Fort Jackson, and he died after an incident on the rifle range while conducting training. And it just made me wonder, like, how do these things, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. It's very tragic. 18 years old, brand new in the Army, and is killed in an injury on the rifle range. Now, one thing for sure is any live fire training is going to be dangerous, but there's so many safeguards in place on the range, and I'm thinking this was not some kind of dynamic range. It seems like, and from the picture, and it says the rifle range, so I'm assuming this is like the 200, 300, 400 meter range, 800 meter range, where they probably were static, like, standing, kneeling, prone type stuff. And it says no one else was injured. It doesn't say if he shot himself or was shot by somebody else. But the thing is, you've got people watching you. You're briefed so heavily. You're not supposed to move from that spot. You're supposed to just take the weapon, shoot, and then lay the weapon down, pointed down range, and then don't move. Like, if you follow the process, there should be very, very limited risk. But people don't follow the process. So I wonder what happened here. Did they check for a clog in the barrel? I mean, I shouldn't be making jokes. But did they check, did they look down the barrel of the gun and pull the trigger? Was it a negligent discharge from somebody else? Did somebody else ND and shoot this person, this soldier? Did they walk down the firing line? Like, go to get their target or something? I mean, was it while they were loading? Did somebody not press check their weapon? Did somebody not clear it? Did somebody have their safety off? Thought it was on, finger on the trigger, no trigger discipline? It's just crazy. Let's see. We got some comments on this here. So, rifle range story. I saw some dumb people with weapons, Joe says. Yeah, I mean, true. You see it, but it's like it's just like you've got safety observers. I haven't heard too many stories of people dying on the rifle range. Joe says, rifle at waist level like John Wayne, turns around. Yeah, Sarge. Safety off with a mag in. That gives me like palpitations just reading that. That's probably like one of the biggest things is people will have the gun and they'll turn around. And then they're already like they'll tackle you, they'll take you down. That's like what the range safety guys are out there to do, to prevent you from flagging your buddy. So the second you start to turn around, you start flagging people. I wonder if that's what it was. I wonder if somebody was flagging him and then panicked, pulled the trigger. Young kids using guns for the first time, bro. That's what Jarhead says. Well, it wasn't in boot camp, though, right? It wasn't in boot camp. I think this was post boot camp, I believe. Is there a boot camp in Fort Jackson? Does anybody know? I wonder if that's what it was. So, Speaker says, I'm 14 and I shoot. Yeah. Good. I hope you're learning the proper procedures for handling a weapon. Joe says, guy got kicked by the range officer like a Spartan. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I was talking about. They'll come over and drop kick you. Fort Jackson has basic training. Okay. Fort Jackson has basic training. Joe says, the Sarge then showed us by blowing the rest of the mag down range. Nice. Relax in Jackson boot camp. Relax in Jackson. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something going on here with that. So that's sad, man. That's sad. I'm bummed for the family of this soldier and for all of his battle buddies out there who probably have to, deal with that, seeing their buddy die. Now, here's a question. Imagine if you shot your battle buddy. Like if you ND'd and shot your battle buddy. That would suck. That would be horrible. I mean, it's your fault because it's always a negligent discharge, right? It's never an accidental discharge. It's always negligent. So if you ND and shoot your buddy, oh man, that's another life ruined. So if this guy was shot by his battle buddy, that's another life ruined because I don't think you could ever get over that. So I feel bad for everyone in this situation. So speakers into Boy Scouts and our firearm guidelines are very strong. Oh, for sure. Okay, if you're a scout, that's good, man. Go get your Eagle Scout and then join the military if that's the path that you think you're going to be on. Becoming a senior scout is a great setup for the military. Plus, I believe if you're an Eagle Scout, you can enlist as an E3 right away without having to go E1 and E2. And it's great for college, too, if you want to go to college. So Joe says, I can't remember if it was the same guy. Another one fired around within 6 feet of Sergeant's foot. Oh, my gosh. Joe, was that in boot camp or was that in training, post-basic training? Wow, I can't even... Wow, just forget that. That is insane. Insane. So I'm sorry for this soldier who was not named, not identified. The soldier's family is being taken care of by the Army. Maybe, I'm guessing now, maybe it was in boot camp. I'm sorry for everyone involved. I just saw that story. I wanted to cover and get you guys' thoughts on how you think that kind of thing happens. And hey, I gotta do this. When he turned around, he fired. I gotta do this. A plug for my old OIC Congressman Dan Crenshaw on Veterans Day. My favorite veteran right now, Dan Crenshaw. Let me just give a shout out really quick to him and his book Fortitude: American Resilience in the Era of Outrage. It's a great book. It's a great story of him. It's a great story of overcoming adversity and challenge. It's a great story of never giving up, and it's a great story of how to handle life's daily stresses and craziness. All the craziness out there that we see. It's a great story on how to deal with that and how he deals with that, because he's been dealing with it ever since he decided to get into politics, which is like, you go decide to get into politics, you're going to get dragged through the mud constantly. So I've audiobooked. I decided to go to the Barnes & Noble's website today because, I don't know, Barnes & Noble's is just still hanging in there, I guess, right? Barnes & Noble's still hanging in there. Good for them. I love Barnes & Noble's. I heard they're going to start opening bars in Barnes & Noble so you can go and read and have a drink. I think that's a good idea. think that's a good idea. Now, I did notice something here that was funny where the audio CD is now $35. You have to pay $35 for the book on CD. You can download it on your Amazon Audible for like a couple bucks or something. So if you like military books, this one's a little different because this is written from his perspective now as a congressman and in politics and as a veteran. And it's about his life after the military and before and getting into politics. I'm sure you guys got to know who this guy is now. He was my OIC of my second deployment to Afghanistan. He's a great guy. I support him as far as he's able to go in the political sphere. I hope he's president one day. I hope he runs for president one day. That'd be awesome. So I just wanted to recommend that book as a shout out for Veterans Day to my favorite veteran, Dan Crenshaw. And with that, that's going to wrap up our Veterans Day episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in with me. Catch up on some comments here before we go. Joe says, Yellowstone Park Ranger designing a beer-proof trash can. That applies to soldiers and such as well. Bear-proof trash can. Yep. Yeah. True. And got to get a good clearing barrel out there for him too. Joe loves Barnes & Nobles. I like Barnes & Nobles too. Here's the question. If Barnes & Nobles had a restaurant bar and you could go grab a book and go sit in the bar and have some snacks, some drinks, would you do that? Speaka, I bought a Constitution on Barnes & Nobles for like $15. Great. You should read the Constitution. It's great. Joe says Barnes & Noble sells me in camp. Sells me in camp. I'm not sure what that means. Jarhead, cool channel. Good to see more military guys there. Thanks, Jarhead. I appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, if you guys want to support the channel, you can share these videos. You can go to ScuttleButtShow.com. Oh, Mein Kampf. Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I guess it's a publication. I guess that's their choice as a business. If you guys want to support the channel, you can go to ScuttleButtShow.com and buy a t-shirt like the one I'm wearing now. These are the nice tri-blend material shirts. These are great. We've got more shirts coming. Yeah, no one's censoring that. Yeah, it's I guess that's like with Fahrenheit 451, right? About censoring books that people didn't like. So, hey, with that, it's 11:03. I'm going to be signing off. I want to wish you guys a happy Veterans Day for all the veterans out there. And thanks for tuning in on this episode with me. There will be no episode tomorrow. Just a heads up. There will be no episode tomorrow. I'll be back on Wednesday, my time, Tuesday, United States time. And wait. Yes, that's right. That's right. I lose track of doing the difference between Okinawa and America time. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this episode. I look forward to talking to you really soon. I am out for now.